Welcome to the Right Way Home podcast. Today, we have a place and a space where we create conversations, we create culture, and of course, we create community. I am your host, Paul Osborne, also known as Ross Sadat or Kofi Sadat. I'm welcoming everybody today on this lovely day that we have. And I'm happy to have an old friend, I would say, not just a guest, but a partner who has really helped and shaped some of the rites of passage work here in Toronto, Tanika Riley.
Hello, hello. Yes, oh my goodness. I'm excited to be on the podcast finally.
There you go. So it took a while, but we're here. We did it.
Yes.
So again, with Tanika Riley, and again, I'm just going to speak from spirit because, there's so many things I can say. But first and foremost, Tanika Riley is a community stalwart. She's been putting in the work for not just years, not just decades, I will say eons. You've been here before. Your spirit has been here before. So Tanika definitely is a mother, an auntie, a family person, a community worker. Her roots are deep. Of course, she's an artist, or I would say an artivist, because you do use your music and your art and your culture and your identity to uplift not just yourself, but I know you do a lot of work in the community, in schools and whatnot. And again, we'll give you a chance to talk about that a little bit more. We want to welcome you, and again, we'll say give you your flowers while you're here.
Oh yeah, like what's it? Drink champs, eh? I'm getting my flowers. Someone
Listen,
bringing me a plaque.
You're getting your edible flowers, your good tasting flowers, whatever it is. We're giving it to you because again, in our community, you know how it is that we often wait too late to actually give people their flowers, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to again introduce and welcome Tanika Riley to our show, our Right Way Home show. So also I'm going to give as part of the introduction for folks who are not aware, Tanika and myself, we work together doing the rites of passage process with young people for many years. You know what I mean? So you always have to have a Batman and Robin, but we were two Batmans. We were still a Batman, Batwoman, right? We were both strong leaders, and I think that's what made it work. And we worked with over 100 young people across the city of African descent, from the east to the west, and very much it was a great and shining time, I would say, in terms of the community and our lives and some of the powerful work we did. Not just young people, but we worked with, community members, we worked with parents, we worked with so many people, partners and whatnot. So again, we're going to start from the rites of passage perspective.
Right.
And, one of the first questions that we ask at rites of passage is, how did I come to be? So I want you to share, like your personal history, some of your community, your work piece. But yeah, Tanika Riley, how did you come to be?
All right. We'll just go right in, right?
Going
Just like
right
we do
in.
rites of passage. We're gonna questions we ask. They're a little deep. Well, how did I come to be? Well, I am a first generation Canadian.
Yes.
I want to big up my parents. They were, first immigrants to Canada in the 70s, like many of us from the islands, from Jamaica specifically. My parents originated from. I mean, when we trace our lineage even further back, we go back to west coast of Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and Ireland. So that's
We can't sleep on the Jamaican. We both Jamaican. Can't sleep on big up the Yardies.
yeah, big up the Yardies. And then if you take it a little bit further back, big up Nigeria, Ghana, and Ireland. And grew up in Scarborough, where this podcast home is in, and bigging up Scarborough and the diversity and all the great talent that comes out of Scarborough. I'm glad to see that a lot more love is being brought to the leaders that are coming out of Scarborough.
Yes.
And the unique perspective we have from growing up in Scarborough with the diversity of every culture represented. I grew up in Malvern.
Yes.
And then moved into Durham region, and eventually, studied environmental science and community development in university in Scarborough, U of T Scarborough.
Right.
Scarborough girl again.
So you're Scarborough for life.
I was Scarborough for life,
All right.
And from that experience, really started to see about the world, and started to kind of hear those whispers that we talk about with our young people about like listening to what your purpose is. And as we know, we always tell our young people it's a journey. It's not like you just know it and okay, it's done, it's wrapped up. As a young person, teenager, just starting to hear those whispers of my purpose of wanting to like be of service but not sure.
Right.
You know, and after graduating from university, kind of kind of not wanting just to get a job and just to get into that kind of rat race, as Bob Marley would say.
Yes, yes.
Really wanting to be of service. So at the time, myself and three of my friends, we kind of had this idea and started this project at the time called Por Amor,
All right, all right.
which means for love.
There you go. So I'm going to ask you to hold it there because we're going to get to there.
Okay.
Right? But is there anything else? So in terms of, I recognize again you from Scarborough, you had your mindset in terms of, some of your studies, you're already listening to that voice or hearing that voice, in terms of those pieces. So we'll move to the next piece around who am I, right? So who is Tanika Riley, right? And again, including some of this brilliant work that you've been for so long. We want to hear more about that. Yeah, but when I ask the question, who am I? Because that's something that we always challenge young people in our process to really answer. So who is Tanika Riley?
Yeah, and I know I've even asked adults that question, and I'm sure some of your listeners, people who catch this episode, however they stumble upon it, even many of us as adults don't even get asked that question, like, who are you? Who am I? Well, first of all, I'm a child of the Most High God.
Sure.
I say that, that's my first role in life that comes first in my life, my connection to spirit, to the Most High God.
Right.
To my ancestors and to work that they guide me to do in these times. Sometimes when I'm like, really? Now this, I gotta do this now? Are you sure? But I learned from one of my elders that we'll talk, from our rights community, it's important to be obedient. So I do my best. And then second of all, when it comes to myself, I am I'm an artist. I consider myself a creative being.
Sure.
So no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm, working on a keynote to share my words in that way, or a poem or a new hip hop piece, or creating a program, I'm always creating spaces to bring people together and to let them know too that, to listen to their own guidance. That's a second part of who I am, is that person that's here to be that vehicle.
Right.
And then as we working our way down, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, and I'm a mom. I have a beautiful daughter who's 13, and my son is almost soon to be 12. So I got pre-teens and teens in the house.
There you go.
Who are at that stage where they need their rites of passage, and I'm really aware of that.
Right.
As someone that worked with young people at that age stage, I could see it in them.
Right.
And so, I'm navigating that energy right now and continuing to walk the example that I want my children to see, of how to continue to live your life authentically, and to just know you don't know what's going to happen next, but we're listening to Spirit's guidance, and it's always taking care of me. So, that's and I'm a big community person, so I love all my friends. My family are really important to me, to getting together. Yes. That's a little bit about who I am,
Yeah. So, one of the things that I know of you, is you're a nature girl.
Yes, that too.
So speak about your affinity to, want to connect with nature or Sasaya, and what that looks like for you.
Oh yeah, Sasaya, and the weather is beautiful on our way here. For prosperity's sake, we just switched over from what feels like winter right almost into summer here in Toronto, but we're in the spring season, and so really enjoying this time. I love getting out into nature. I think Ontario, where we're located, our province, is such a beautiful place to explore. Yes. That used to be our motto. I think they tried to change it. I'm keeping it. Ontario, yours to discover.
Yours to discover.
That is, because Ontario has so many beautiful lakes and beaches. And yes, Caribbean, African people, beaches still count if it's not salt water. I know it's not salt water, okay?
Even if the water's cold?
It's a little edge, but it got sand and there's water. It's still a beach, okay?
All right.
I know there's debates.
There's debates.
You want to start in the comments? I'm here for it.
I'm kind of in the middle for that, but yeah, we'll see. That's a debate. So let us know if you're living in North America, Canada in particular. Ontario even specifically, do we really have beaches?
Is it still a beach? If it's not salt water and a little chill. But I love going to explore, our waters, all of our beautiful national parks here, provincial parks. So much diversity from wetlands to mountains, or big high up spots
There you go.
that you can see beautiful views and ancient forests. So I really love it. And then I also, my spirit name, I do a lot of work with indigenous communities as well. From Turtle Island, the original people from Turtle Island. And actually, my spirit name that I was gifted, we have in our cult, with our rites, we give our young people and we get on our day names.
Yes.
And maybe we'll get into that. But so my day name is Adwa, which means born on a Monday.
And we can't forget the Kofi's in the house.
Yes.
Friday born.
Friday born. And, my name also means devoted to helping others, humorous, and a keeper of the culture, which is not a coincidence that I'm doing this work.
Yes.
And my spirit name that I was given by my indigenous elders is Ebemi Goshkatkwe, and it means one whose spirit loves to travel in the dream world, but also physically across this beautiful Mother Earth.
Oh, yes.
And so, I've been to, Africa, continent, South America, all over the Caribbean, Europe. I still got a few more, but my goal is to hit every continent before the Most High says it's time to go.
Yeah.
So you can definitely find me checking out Mama Earth Asasaya, because as we teach, it's a connection that was lost, I feel, for so many of us from the continent. But it's so important to reclaim that because it gives us so much grounding and so much stillness and peace in this kind of chaotic world, right, that we live in right now.
Exactly. So also, I know one of the elements you bring to, you're an artist, you're a hip hop artist. So how do you kind of not mix, but how do you answer that question about who am I, as an artist? So who are you as an artist, right? Is that the same as you are as a person in the community or your skills? That those things match, or is it two separate things? So sometimes people have, an artist persona.
Yeah,
and then they
alter
have
like Sasha Fierce.
Right, exactly. So how would you say, as an artist, who are you as an artist? What kind of music do you do? How you describe your music, and then does it align with really who you are as, Tanika?
Yeah, I don't have an alter ego. My stage name is iNsight.
Right.
I guess because my music, I was gifted that name. You know how it is in hip hop. Either a lot of times you come up with a name or people kind of help you.
Right.
And so I was kind of stumbling around, and I think one of my peeps, they're like, you're always dropping some nuggets of wisdom, and the name iNsight kind of came up, and I wasn't sure, but it stuck.
Right.
20 years later. And so, for me as an artist, sometimes I even feel weird about that because I'm not always in the studio making art, like dropping new poetry, dropping music videos. That's kind of something that it's a secret passion of mine to get there eventually.
Right.
And I still hold that. Right. But I definitely, and I would love to just, focus on creating art for a good chunk of my time. Maybe this summer when I'm off.
Right.
But definitely I use my art. It is kind of who I am because it's about me sharing how I'm feeling about when I look out in the world.
Right.
Or if I know I'm going to be speaking to a particular audience on a particular subject, I'll craft a piece because as we know, people enjoy listening to people talk like they are right now. Everyone loves a podcast.
Yeah.
But what I find too is when you're able to either share a poem or a hip hop verse to an audience, it really resonates with people's spirits and hearts on a next level.
Exactly.
And it's such a gift to be able to do that.
Yes.
To share that message through that art form.
Yeah.
And so I feel really honored to be able to use that gift. I've always been a talker. I got bad in listening in school, and the teacher on my report cards, Tanika always likes to talk.
But she loves to
She's
talk.
always talking to her classmates. So, if you're out there and you're one of those people, that could be part of your purpose.
There you go.
So I'm using the gift of gab in all the different ways.
Right.
I don't take it lightly.
Right. And it's more than a talent or a skill. I think it's a gift, as you said, right?
Yeah.
And a gift, I would say, in my perspective, a gift from, the ancestors created, however you may say it, because, we come through people, right?
Yeah.
And we're given that message.
And I often feel like that when I write or share. Sometimes I'll pray before and say, what is the message? And sometimes I've written pieces that I'm like, this isn't me.
Yeah.
This just came through me as a vehicle. Or
Right.
if anyone knows, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop culture this year. Can we get a little snap? There's people in the background. Let me hear some snaps from everyone in the background.
Don't let me have to break out the old Cabbage Patch, because I mean.
Well, okay. That breakdancing is actually is going to be an Olympic sport next year in the Summer Olympics.
Nice.
That's how far hip hop is going.
Breakdancing
is going to be in the Summer Olympics, 2024. But talking about hip hop culture, if you know freestyling or getting in a freestyle circle,
right,
which is also very much from an African's perspective, with rights, we circling up. There's an energy there when we circle up and we freestyle and we share. So
right.
I often feel like whether I'm writing or sometimes in a freestyle circle, there's other things getting downloaded through all of us in the circle that likes to be shared, and that's one of my favorite places. I haven't been in a freestyle circle in a while, but maybe after this podcast, or maybe we'll.
This is it. We're gonna have a freestyle.
That's a behind the scenes cuts, all right.
Behind the scenes cuts. So I often hear you through this conversation talking about purpose, right? And one of the questions, of course, the rites of passage is, what is my purpose, right? So how is it that you were able to find that purpose, right? And the second part of the question is, what can we share with other people who are seeking to find that purpose? Like, so, we've helped young people to at least open their minds up and develop, some of the answers to that question. So what was your process, and, how did you find your purpose, first of all?
I mean, I feel like I am in it right now, but it's still always evolving, as we tell our young people, anyone out there. I don't feel like it ever has like a final destination. The final destination is when I'm out of this star and on to the next galaxy, But for me, it's been a journey. It's been a journey of listening. And that's why when we kind of go back to nature, it's so important for all of us, young, older, to really take that time to get still.
Right.
I find nature is a great place for me to do that, because if we're always on our phones, if we're always being consumed by the thoughts of others and other content, how can we hear what we're supposed to do? Sure. And so for me, when I'm ever doubting what's next for me, my go-to is to get still. If I got to do it in my own space and or go away somewhere else, but for me, it's been a journey of listening. Right. And so it started with kind of getting into a program at U of T that I wasn't supposed to. I applied to get into computer science, and then they accepted me for They accepted me for international development and something else, which is actually what I needed to have been doing. Right. So it's those kind of things. It's a mix of me listening and creator putting me in spaces I needed to be. Ended up working at Boys and Girls Club along my journey. Wasn't ever a plan, but started to see what community was and working and developing programs. Right. Started writing, organically with friends in my 20s. So it wasn't like I was this 9-year-old, some of these kids, 11, 12, they've been writing music. No, I came to it later. So I always tell young people, it's okay if you don't know yet.
Exactly.
I only
wrote.
The
process, right?
Yeah.
The process, I think, always is more important than the destination.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes people get caught up in the fact, I don't know what I want to do. Listen, if you have a process, and again, we've been through some process, and some of the things we've had, I know you're very big, is like visioning.
Yeah, right? Making your vision boards.
All of that. So
I got my word of the year now. I've been doing that for the last 4 years. So my word of the year this year is support. Because needing to grow myself and the works that I'm doing, and it takes a village. Yeah. And for many years, we kind of sometimes think we could do it on our own. So I'm a big believer, and I didn't create this. If you watch any successful people out there that are not just monetarily successful, but happy, loving what they're doing, they're big proponents of doing vision boards, goal setting, and even doing your word of the year and putting it up on a wall and looking at it. So there's things on my vision board that I've been able to check off even the last few years. I'm so grateful for. But for definitely it is that journey of just trying new things. I always say to people, it's just as good to know what you don't want to do, than what you do want to do. And what I always find is, don't get stuck. We're more of the mature, seasoned crowd now.
There you go.
The camera not showing it though. But it's like I still have that childlike
And you have to have
excitement about life. Like if I'm doing something for 3-4 years and I feel like, all right, time to move on, and I don't feel stuck that I have to stay anywhere. I'm always listening and being like, time to shift, and that always puts me into new places and spaces.
Right.
To do this work. But the work never changes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this work of culture,
Mm-hmm.
of sharing African indigenous wisdom, of
Yes.
building community, of uplifting myself and others.
Right.
That never changes, but the places and spaces I find myself does.
Right.
But that's also because I allow spirit to work through me and not be rigid of like, but I'm here and this job has this security and you know, even we worked together for so many years and it was hard to make that decision to leave that work that we were doing. But I heard spirit saying I need you in different spaces and audiences.
I love that.
And
then that's beautiful. I mean, the word they're using nowadays is pivot. Right?
Okay.
But the reality is that I like what you're saying. Sometimes you always have to have that, you know, that critical lens, you know, and look at yourself and say, you know, is this the place and space I need to be? And often the challenge I find for a lot of people in terms of making the transition is not listening to yourself and your spirit, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy that you had mentioned that, and that's a real example, right? We were sad to see you go, and the, you know, not just myself, but the communities that we worked with, but more happy though to recognize that you're following your passion and your purpose and you're doing that. So the final question that we have for rights section of this, we'll be talking a little bit more about it, but really is the critical question that we put towards young people is, am I really who I think I am? Right? And that's always a critical question because people often, you know, here's a stereotype or a prototype of what I'm supposed to be and whatnot. So was there ever a time in your life where you had to question yourself, you know, really am I, you know, that person that people think I am, or am I, that whole critical juncture, am I going to go left or go right? Am I going to go on my path or the path maybe my parents want me to go on, or other people or whatever? Did you ever have that moment and you may still have that moment?
I was going to say I still have those moments, but less as I'm getting older.
Right.
But definitely, you know, there's a lot of expectations that, you know, community, family can put on us. I do give thanks to my mom. She's been always one. She worked really hard so that I could kind of follow my dreams, and she gave me that security,
yes,
you know, financially, emotionally, to really kind of just go out there and say, you know, kids, follow, even though she didn't understand what I'm doing. Sometimes
that's the beauty. Listen, that's the beauty of, you know what I mean, of a wonderful parent. Trust me. Do it. I don't understand what you're doing.
I don't understand because remember, all our parents come from, you know, working, you know, coming to Canada from the Caribbean, and they get an office job, and then they understand, you know, working this, and then you tell them you're going to do different creative things or life is taking you there. They don't understand, but I did have that space to kind of figure that out. But there was still like one of the things that was really challenging, you know, because at a young age I found myself working in community, so my identity became started to wrap around being of service. So when I, you know, after 17 years, when I left Rites of Passage with Wood Green, which is the organization that we did that work with, although Rites is ongoing and always being done in different ways.
Right.
That was my first exit out of community work in over 17 years. And so the first few years, I was just slowing down because it was very, you know, as we know, it's intense work. There's always something to be done. There's always needs. I was also a parent. So for the first little while, I didn't really know who I was anymore when I wasn't being of service, aside to my own kids and myself. For a while, I felt a little bit selfish. And I felt like, who am I without being like Tanika, the community worker, Tanika, you know, the person in community that people can reach out to. And when people, and I felt battle, like I'm not there anymore. So that was a time when I was questioning, like, who am I if I'm not this? And my elder would be like, who are you when you slow down? And you're not always so busy, Tanika.
Yes.
And
Tanika's a grinder. You're a grinder.
Listen, Paul, I'm more of a woman of, I'm grinding right now, but I'm a woman of luxury now too. I was just in Barbados for 3 weeks during December, so I also know how to be a woman of leisure right now too.
You got that balance.
I appreciate that.
Tanika was the hardest working partner I had, and I appreciate that because You know what I mean? I mean, at that moment, that's what was needed.
Yeah.
But you're in a different moment now. But definitely, I appreciate it. I'm showing my love because trust me, Tanika would be on it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's what I realized as who I am who I really think I am.
Right.
That I am different. There's different parts of me now.
Right.
And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing I'm honoring them at different times. So, as we work with the seasons as Indigenous people, I follow the seasons. So, in the winter is when I am taking my time and resting more. But now it's spring, so I'm hyped right now.
Yeah.
I am that Tanika that you knew from before.
Yeah,
There's lots of projects. We're doing the podcast. We're building more ideas.
Yes.
So that's that spring energy of planting those seeds because we want to reap some things this fall. Right? We want to see things grow this summer. So, but I'm learning that I can't be summer, spring Tanika at 24 seasons.
Good lessons.
So
Yeah.
that's part of seeing who I am. Am I who I really am? I don't know. Spirit's continuing to show me. Sometimes I feel like I'll put this all away and I admire your wife and her comedy, and I'm like, I want to get on stage and do some comedy. Why not? Why not try all the incarnations of who we are while we're here? I don't know.
There you go. So of course, talking about planting seeds, I know that you definitely have a green thumb. You're always in that dirt. What are you planting this year? What's in your garden? We want to know.
Oh, well, we haven't started just as yet, but we were just talking about that. Yes, in my backyard, definitely grow a lot of food. Mm-hmm. So right now we'll have our asparagus, myself and my husband to be. Yes. Our asparagus. We got to go home. It's probably starting to pop out the ground because it comes up every year when you plant it for 20 years.
Yes.
So we got our asparagus growing, some medicines. Mm-hmm. Different herbs that are good for like healing that will be coming up. And then, we're going to plant, our lettuce, cucumbers, what we usually plant, peppers, all right. Spinach. Okay. We got our eggplants, strawberries.
There you go.
Raspberries, and this is, I don't got no farm, people, just in case. I have a house with a backyard, yes. Yeah. But we could plant a lot of food. You can definitely plant enough food to grow for your own family with a small plot of land.
Unless you got my size of my family, but yes.
Well, yeah. Okay, true. No, my kids are not fully eating at full-grown man level. Yes.
But I want to take that lesson because definitely I want to do more gardening this intentionally, especially, we know, in this time,
cost of living, and the quality of food.
And the quality of food does not match the quality of price.
Yeah.
Right? So we definitely have to, as a community, growing our own. This is very important. So this year, it could be, a little herb, a little plant.
Start with one or two things, whatever you eat, like tomatoes and lettuce, because you eat a lot of salads. Start there. Right. YouTube was my best friend. Before I met my fiance, who is an organic farmer and grew up doing that, and he's kind of taken over now a lot of that, which I'm happy to be the assistant now.
This is it.
I just YouTubed it when I was learning. So, I didn't know. My mom was like, girl, what? She was not a green thumb person either.
Yeah.
But I was like, I felt, that was another time I listened to the call. I felt like blood memory, DNA memory of I wanted to grow food. No one in my family grew food. I didn't have any examples of that.
Right.
So good old example, YouTube. Yeah. How to grow tomatoes. Yeah. How to plant, and you just trial and error, like our ancestors did and figured out.
This is it.
And now, I've been growing food for this would be my 13th or 14th year.
Oh yeah, I know you're one
of
those. You're one of those foodies, but real foodies growing their food,
nothing beats you taking that cherry tomato off that plant in July, August, and the taste is incomparable.
There you go. So definitely. So how did you come to rights? I know you did the Ensumo rights, but how did you actually find out about it? How did you come to this thing called rights?
Well, I got to big up, I know I don't like to, I joke with people, my baby daddy, but we always say we don't like to say that, my children's father.
There you go.
I have to big him up, Kwame, for introducing me when I met him before we had kids. He had just done his rights.
Okay.
And he, after we dated and he started to know me, he's like, you seem like this would be something up your alley. So, my children's father, introduced me to rights that was being done for adults to learn.
Yes.
And then through that process, I did it, and I was actually pregnant near the end of my rights process. So my daughter was in my belly during my end of my rights process.
So it's interesting you say that, because that seems to be a common theme, because my wife was also pregnant during the end of the rights process.
Oh.
I know what it is about rights, but yeah.
I guess if you want to have a baby, do rights. You know? So don't quote us on that one.
Exactly.
But and from that, then I was home on maternity leave, and then my good friend Paul and some elders were like, we have our young people program. Tanika, can you come? You ready to go back to work? And I was like, not yet. My baby still needs me. But as soon as that maternity leave was over,
yes.
I answered the call from you all and our Wood Green Rites of Passage family and our elder Sipo and Paul and all of the amazing elders, and started working with you, and we worked together for 6 years almost, or
oh yeah. And I still continue to work.
Still continue, but in that specific way.
Yes.
Doing rights with young people, and I was able to, put what I had learned doing my adults as someone in their early 30s,
right,
and also learn so much from just doing it with our young people and seeing how it was different and learning how best to bring those ancient practices and, as we say, into modern times.
Exactly. It's important, yeah.
Right, and I know we did such a great job of taking those ancient principles and bringing it to the concrete jungle of Scarborough, and still finding the species of Assasia and ways to connect indoors in the winter. And so my whole rights journey has now been over 10 years of having it in my life,
right?
And now it's something that is a way of life for myself, my children,
yes,
my community,
right.
So it's not, like we said, it's not just a program or a process. It's a way of life.
A way of life, yeah. So
yeah, which I'm so grateful for that it found me.
There you go.
It found me.
How it is. Again, you said when you listen, things will find you, but you have to be quiet for it to find you, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to sit still, because the same thing happened to me. That's how it found me. In
will
a certain
find
way,
you.
it will find you. So, just I guess, what lessons with your rites of past experience as both a facilitator and someone who is initiated into rites of passage? So, what kind of lessons would you pass on to folks who are curious about rites without letting them know exactly, because we know the sacredness of it? But what kind of lessons would you say you would like to share with folks out there around the impact of rights in your life?
Wow, that one's a powerful question, because just so many memories are coming up. For me, I grew up with a single mom. I know my father, but I didn't know he was in my life. But grew up with my mom, and I don't have siblings. I'm an only child from my mom, at least.
Okay.
So I always craved community. So one of the first things that rights gave me was community. And I didn't have elders in my life that could teach me even more about Jamaican culture, and even to go further back, how those cultures in Jamaica, those ceremonies, those rituals that we did, those prayers, their connection even to Africa, to West Africa in particular,
right.
And rights really put those pieces together for me. Right. I remember learning when we went to Ghana that Onyame, it means creator. Onyame. And yam is something we say in Jamaica. Yam your food. Yam the food. But then when we see the root word of yam comes from onyame, and that obviously our ancestors were praying and saying onyame, and the word yam must have come from there, but we don't know, right? A lot of these stories are lost, so rights really put some pieces together for me around where I come from, from my African side, and made those connections of community. And that's something like that my parents and those are in my family couldn't do for me. And so sometimes we look to our parents and our family, but they might be searching and seeking too, or maybe that's not their path. But rights really brought those people that also were seeking and searching and had that wisdom into my life to fill me up, so I could go out there and fill others up. So that's one thing that I'm forever continuing to be grateful, because I still be calling my elders, and they still be teaching me, they still be guiding me, learning, just being in different, drum circles, learning, about the symbology and different clothing, having the opportunity to go back to Ghana, to Africa, with our young people and family and community, to touch down on the motherland, not just as myself and a friend, but to do that with community, and to visit, the dungeons together, and to to return back to the door of no return,
Mm-hmm.
and to say we are here and we are stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I remember tears and crying and being overwhelmed, and
Yes.
to be able to do that with community. Woo, boy, man,
Yeah, that was
you make it. I'm getting the chills just thinking about
I'm
those. You
getting
know,
emotional too because it was a powerful time and it was a powerful experience.
yeah, to return and to return, saying, you know, some of this knowledge and wisdom that was beaten out of our ancestors and shunned.
Mm-hmm.
We take that,
Right.
and that you can't keep that from us. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
Our ancestors whisper that, and so yeah, to return back and say we're home and we're home with this knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just some of the little pieces of why I would encourage anyone to dig deeper into knowing who you are from a cultural perspective, because that's why I appreciate working with Indigenous communities, because they did such a great job of keeping that culture also when they were being oppressed, and they hid it, and they kept those ceremonies. And I find as people from the diaspora that are here, we're still on that journey of knowing those what are these rituals and things that we would do when a baby would be born, or when we are feeling depressed or overwhelmed. There's things that our ancestors did. And we need to remember that before they fully get forgotten, and they won't.
And pass that down.
So they can't be forgotten. So yeah, that's what rights continues to bring.
Beautiful. So I know that you've definitely been doing a lot. And I'm following you, through Por Amor and doing some incredible work in the school. And maybe you haven't heard this because sometimes we don't hear all the praise, but I connected with a teacher recently that you went to their school, and you did, actually it was their child's school, and they just said, hey, your friend Tanika did some amazing work. And I was like, I told you, that's Tanika. Really? But I was just like, I got to tell Tanika, right? Because trust me, she was like, it's amazing when we see her, let her know we loved it and all that kind of stuff. So, listen, man, your work is your work, right? Your work is your work and your work is your worth. So I'm not surprised when I heard that, right?
Thanks.
So, but let me know, what do you have coming up in the future? Anything that we need to watch out for? How do we connect with you? Or how does our audience connect with you in terms of any work that you're doing out there, or any initiative, or if they want to volunteer support, give you $1 million, whatever it is? What's going on with you, and how do folks connect with you?
So this year, an organization that I co-founded with 3 other young women. Well, we were young at the time, still young in spirit.
Younger people.
We celebrate 20 years this year for more. And we're deciding, what to do now that we celebrated 20 years. We might be looking to change it up, change our name up, and start to build new relationships. We're feeling like 20 years is a good time to say thank you for all the work that we've done. But we're still in the celebration mode of 20 years of doing this work of arts education, hip hop education. So, doing works around doing assemblies in schools, as you said, your friend connected. So doing assemblies on leadership, equity, and wellness. So, you can catch us during Black Excellence Month, but we do work all throughout the school year on celebrating African and Indigenous wisdom, like we're talking now, doing stuff around wellness all the time, again, but bringing in African Indigenous culture's perspective on how do we stay well, how do we stay connected. A lot of the stuff we talked about is what I share. And with the organization Por Amor, it's not just me. I have other artist educators, whether they're break dancers, African dance, visual artists. I'm a poet, as other wordsmiths, to share their talents and skills on these topics with young people through workshops, assemblies. We do parent sessions. So you can find us on the gram at Por Amor info, and I'm sure we'll put that in the contact. Or we just got on TikTok for all the young people at Por Amor 2003. That's when we started.
All right.
And the young people be following.
Okay.
They're loyal.
But as one of the young people, I gotta start following myself.
Yeah, I like TikTok. It's pretty fun to make these things. I'm still learning, so we do need some help with that. So if you like to TikTok for fun, maybe I could give you a little something to make some good content for Por Amor. And then I have my own business, as myself as an artist. Tanika iNsight, I go by iNsight, doing my hosting and keynote speaking, at events and conferences, again, on similar topics. Again, just using the power of words to inspire communities with a lot of the topics that we shared today. So, people can find me on Instagram too at Tanika InSight.
All right.
And connect with me there. Either which way, you can connect with me, email me, and I love building with people. We definitely are looking for some Indigenous artist educators to support, sharing that wisdom in our communities, and volunteers for sure. We're always looking to help. My word was support. I told you this year of the year, so looking for that support to reach out more people, because as we know, we're all out there right now, and people are questioning. There's so many challenges in the world and confusions, and who do we trust, and we see so much crumbling of the old system, and we need to be building the new systems as this is happening. And new systems is really going back to the ancient ways, of our ancestors. So we can't do that alone. So it is a village. So connect with me. I'll connect you with everyone else in this space, and let's build. 2023 is the year of completion, actually, as a number. The year 7. Sorry, it's the year. What is 2003? Is that 7? Yes.
Yeah. Sounds good.
That sounds about right. So it's a year of completion. I heard
the public school system is working.
Yeah.
We're doing our march.
But 3,
our march.
4, 5, and it means
march.
a year of physical completion. So it means that something new is looking to be birthed in 2024. So we need to bring out the people right now.
I love it.
And let's build it all up.
I love it. So on that note, again, we thank you for the Right Way Home podcast.
Yes.
Culture, community, cultivating connection, reconnection, I would even say. Insight, I want to thank you for the insight. I'm going to claim a word for this year. My word is redemption.
All right. Why redemption?
Not just because I love the party,
Yes, bigger redemption parties.
Redemption people. But I think that there's a piece around kind of looking at yourself again and kind of redeeming and reclaiming yourself, right? So the redeeming, moving forward in certain things. I want to kind of put that energy out there. So I'm going to, I put redemption out there.
All right, I like that. You got your word of the year. Everyone else listening, find your word of the year. Spring is a good time for it. This is the real new year, when the earth is waking up again and things are growing. So it's a good time.
So put your word. We want you to put your word in the comments.
Yes.
What is your word of the year? What is your intention you want to put out there? Right. So we want to again thank everybody for listening this week. It's been a pleasure to reconnect. With my sister, my riding partner, my rights partner. And definitely, again, we will see you on the next episode of The Right Way Home.
Big up Right Way Home podcast.
All right.